Hello there, you guys, and welcome back to this Old Masters for Young Players series. So today we're looking at the second half of the Sarabanda by Tartini, and this is linked below for you on YouTube, or it's in your YouTube description along with a hopefully helpful picture attachment with my notes scribbled on there for you. So I hope you've been really enjoying this piece. It's so pretty. Today we're looking at the second half, so we're starting in line 4 right after the repeat. Actually, I almost forgot before we get into that. You guys, there are 4 events that you can join over on Patreon. Every other Thursday evening we have a violin viola group class. Bring this to the class and work on it. The first half of the class I will do a little mini lesson for us, and we'll go down something interesting that I'm finding interesting. And then we'll have the last half of the class to just work on some things individually. And if you have questions about things, I'm there for you. I'm there to hold your hand while we practice. Thursday evenings at 7:30 Eastern Time on Zoom. The other event is the virtual studio circle at the end of the month. It's our little time to get together as a community and also provide some positive space to practice sharing what you've been working on during the month, whether you're a beginner, whether you're intermediate, whether you're advanced, whether you already have a degree in music, but you just need a little bit of time to just practice performing in front of people that really love music and are there to support you and will not be mean to you, but will provide a positive space for you. That's our virtual studio circle the last Friday of every month at 7:30 Eastern Time as well, and also on Zoom. And then the last thing is our guest artist class. Every month I invite an amazing guest artist to come and teach a lecture or give a class on something, whether it's music history or general history, or a performer or a teacher or a specialist in some kind of style, or even like something not music related like qigong or personal trainers, or literally anything at all that I'm thinking would be interesting and helpful along our musical path. So the calendar of events is also on Patreon. You can see who we have booked for the upcoming months. Those are all recorded, so if you can't make it live, you can rewatch it later. And I think that's it. So we're gonna start on line 4. Stop there. So the second time, it's nice to switch it up a little bit and maybe play it extra quietly and extra tiny so that people really listen to you the second time. You know, they've already heard it, but if you dial down the dynamic and the softness and the color, it just might bring people in a little bit more. It's intriguing, you know. So fingerings. Take a look at the attachment for those of you on Patreon. This will be so much easier. We're going to be exploring third position and second position. And in video 1 of this, we talked a little bit about why we would shift versus not shift, keeping it on one string to keep the color the same, avoiding weird string crossings, avoiding really long moments where you have to be on the 4th finger, for example. So in this case, starting the second half, I'm also changing the bowing, just like we did at the beginning on video 1. Rather than starting on a down bow, I'm starting on an up bow to emphasize the stronger beat 2, and also get this little lift. position. And then here, coming down sneakily using a half step to transition to second position. So here's the E flat, half step back for the D, and then back to first position. Okay, so that's the first little bit of shifting around. We have one more little shifting around place on the last line. But you might remember we talked about last time, when you're shifting, try to shift on the finger that you're on to take you. So let me find a spot where that would work well. So let's just start the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth line at the end of the fifth line. So we're in second position on the D. And we're going to go back down to this D. So what I'm going to do is I'm on this finger. This finger is the one that takes me back down and then over. Let me keep the bow on the viola. And if you do that, you have this nice little slide back down, and you can hide it with the bow change. You also don't want to take your sweet old time getting back down to first position, but that's really key. Try to shift on the finger that you're on rather than shifting on the new finger that you're going to. That doesn't make sense because you're on a finger. Use that one to take you where you're going. Okay, another example of a shift though is when you're going from an open string in one position, like we have in the beginning of this. And now I have to find myself in another position here. So how do you do that? Well, the first thing is that we hopefully have established a little bit of muscle memory throughout our practices with shifting. So one of the things I like to do as a warm-up sometimes when we're talking about shifting in classes is just practice shifting a whole step. Can you feel what a whole step is on the first finger? Can you feel what a half step would be? And then try that same thing on a different finger, and you'll see that the arm is doing the same thing. It doesn't matter what finger you're on. This is a whole step, this distance, and then this is a little half step. As you ascend the fingerboard, the distances get smaller, so we have to kind of adapt. But if you can practice going from a whole step to half step, and your arm starts to learn that little distance, like first position to third position, you get to kind of know what that distance feels like, just like a trombone player, right? Like a trombone player has to learn those distances when they're playing. We do too. So the other thing is that I'm outlining, I'm not just shifting to third finger like this. I'm using the first finger and then this hand pattern for the key to take me there. So C, D, E flat, not just in the middle of nowhere, because where do these fingers go? It's all in relation to the first finger. So let's see if there's another, oh yeah, last thing about shifting is that if you can use a half step to be the place where you shift, it's so easy. It's like a sneaky little shift to just shift a half step higher, and then it puts you in a different position, like we do at the end in the last line, measure 2. And it's the arm that's doing that little half step shift there. Let's see if there's any other little thoughts there. I guess, string crossings. Let's talk about string crossings, because there's actually moments where we do have some little awkward string crossings. So if you watch my elbow, this is what we want to try to avoid. What are the notes? So you see how my arm's kind of moving in this chunky way? What we want to try to do is have the elbow be this like little prepare for the string crossing. So if the elbow goes down, my bow's gonna go this way. If my elbow goes up, my bow's gonna go this way. So the elbow is like the initiator of the movement. What are the notes? So you can kind kind of have the elbow be a little bit swoopy. But if you know that you're going to be going from this string to this string, you can just keep your elbow a little lower in general because you're going to be going this way. So why would you keep your arm up really high when you're going this way? So the moral of the story basically is if you have a mirror in your practice room, extra brownie point. You can actually see in those moments, if you notice, I really can't get around in this string crossing, then you can look in the mirror and be like, what is my arm doing that I can't get across in the string crossing, and what could I do to make the string crossing easier? So here's your permission slip to go buy a fabulous mirror for your music room. Or you could use Zoom or use your phone or record it and see what it is that you're doing. But anyways, you guys, I think we'll wrap it up there. I hope you learned something and had fun today. I hope to see you at some of the events that we have on the Patreon community there.